I thank the leader very much for the business. I know he and the whole of the House will want to join me in congratulating the England football team on their win last night. I must say, I'm not sure we should be thanking them for the trauma and heart-stopping cardiovascular workout that I at least experienced right to the end. The Prime Minister was quite punishing about the Liberal Democrats at Prime Minister's questions yesterday for their sanctimoniousness. And let's be clear, I think we can all agree he was spot on. But sanctimoniousness is not exactly something that the Prime Minister has been immune from himself. He was extremely rude about the state of the public finances after the general election. He promised tough decisions, I quote, to fix the foundations. The imaginary £22 billion black hole he inherited needed, he said, candour, discipline and hard choices. These tests should apply here too now with the Defence Investment Plan. That plan commits £15 billion in additional defence spending over 4 years, of which £4.7 billion will be confirmed at Budget 2026. In other words, the plan, which comes 394 days after the Strategic Defence Review and on the eve of a NATO summit, is partly unfunded from the moment it was published. This is not what candour looks like, Mr. Speaker, or discipline or hard choices. And irony of ironies, the further £10 billion reportedly needed for the DIP is itself precisely the kind of unfunded bequest to the next government that the Prime Minister himself claims to condemn. And of course, the plan is too small. The government says 3% is its ambition for the next Parliament. Getting to 3.5%, the UK's core NATO commitment by 2035 requires about £25 billion a year more in today's terms. The government's offered no funded pathway to either figure. Little wonder the plan has been so roundly criticised by defence experts across the board. I know the leader will feel tempted to make comparisons with 2010. Perhaps I may remind him that the UK was reeling from the global financial crisis at that time. A very different US president was in the White House. Ukraine was not at war, and Russia was not threatening members of NATO directly. But of course, cost escalation in defence is just part of a wider British problem with major national projects. HS2 is the starkest warning. As far as I'm aware, and I spent 2 years at the Treasury trying and failing to stop it, HS2 is still constructing a gigantic so-called bat protector at a cost of more than £100 million in order to protect 20 or so pairs of endangered bats. There is little or no evidence that such a bat protector will do so, or indeed to think that a few nets with some bells on them would not be at least as effective. In other words, Edward Lear himself could not make this nonsense up. Now we have Northern Powerhouse Rail. This week, the Public Accounts Committee reported that the government still lacks a convincing plan to manage spend or prioritise benefits within the £45 billion rail budget. Unclear scope, optimistic costing, weak governance, late trade-offs. That is how large projects get into serious difficulty. Other nations have shown they can do it better. Norway built the world's longest and deepest subsea tunnel for about £450 million at the time of completion. We should be asking why we cannot do the same. We've got a great model nearby of our own in the Buckingham Palace resurfacing programme, which cost £369 million over 10 years. But this is the lesson for restoration and renewal of the House of Commons, the House of Lords and the Palace of Westminster, the cost of which is currently estimated at up to astonishing £12 to £19 billion. No one doubts that the Palace of Westminster badly needs restoration, and it needs a decision on that soon. No one disputes these points. The fire risk, asbestos, failing electrical and mechanical systems are real. But Parliament cannot ask parliamentarians, and through them the poor, long-suffering taxpayer, to support a project of this scale without demonstrating the same disciplines it requires of others. Cost forecasts, not merely, but a stated and effective governance, a capped budget, independent challenge and proper named accountability. So I ask the leader if we can have at least 2 debates in this House on restoration and renewal. One to discuss the issues in detail, and then another in relation to an authorising motion.